what I thought I would do is I just real quickly, I would review kind of what we were able to get done in the bye week, kind of give you a little bit more perspective on how we do things. That's evolved somewhat over the last couple of years. So the travel squad or the varsity, however you want to look at it, we were able to get 3 practices in and 2 lifts. For the non-travel squad, we were able to get 4 practices in and 3 lifts. And then we had 4 in-house presentations with various support staff members from a player development perspective that we always try to get those things in throughout the year, and obviously we're able to load up on a little bit during the bye week. So we were able to get some presentations done on nutrition, sports science, performance psychology, and then a presentation on drugs for the players, which was really valuable. And then what the coaches did, we did those practices, and then most of us left either Wednesday afternoon, late afternoon, or Wednesday night. And then I didn't get back, like a lot of the coaches got back sometime on Saturday. They got back around 11 p.m. on Saturday, so from Wednesday to Saturday. For myself, I was able to get to 25 schools and 8 different states in that amount of time, and then for staff, we were able to get to 108 schools and 20 different states. So we were able to get a lot of work done in a short period of time. So very appreciative of the staff and the recruiting staff for getting all that organized.
Good afternoon, James. How are you?
Hey, Rich. Good. How are you, buddy?
I'm fine, thanks. James, you and others have talked about not allowing a loss to linger, and I was wondering, what have you seen from your players and coaches in the last 10 days on that front? And secondly, how can Shane Simmons impact your defense?
Yeah, we're really excited about having Shane back. He's a guy, this spring and this summer, we're really excited. He has not been available up to this point. So, we'll see how much he plays, but, even if he can give us 10 to 15 plays on Saturday, and play those reps at a really high level, then I think it's a win for us. So we're excited about getting him back. He's more of a complete player than he's been in the past. He's over 250 pounds. He always was a pass rusher, but now we think he's going to do a really, really good job in playing the run as well. So excited about that. And and then the other thing, obviously, it hurts. It hurts our fans. It hurts our coaches, it hurts our players, and I think the last thing you want to do is try to ignore that. You recognize that, you watch the film, you evaluate the film, you make the corrections, and you move forward. The thing that I've been really kind of harping to the team this week is really 2 things, and I say this week, probably the last 2 weeks, is really 2 things. Number one, we're at a point in our program, we got to fight for every little gain we possibly can find, and it's not going to be in one specific area. Can we improve 1% in nutrition? Can we improve 1% in sleep? Can we improve 1% in scheme? Can we improve 1% in terms of practice, effort, and focus, in meetings, in taking notes, and all those types of things? Because that's really where we're at. So we spent a lot of time talking about that and challenging each coach, including myself and the players, to all look at it that way. How can we get 1% better in multiple areas? And there's tremendous value in that. So that's been the one thing. And then I think the other thing is this, and I think this is, I know has been helpful to me and has been helpful to our players and our coaches is, I think the people that study our program closely, you guys, the media, our fans, our coaching staff, and our players. I think it always has got to start with a simple question, and that is, have we gotten better? I know we did not finish the game the way anybody wants us to finish the game. I get that, but okay, we understand that. We study that, we learn from that, we grow from that. But let's go back to that first question. Did we get better from week 1 to week 2? Yes. Did we get better from week 2 to week 3? So we've gotten better every single week. So if we continue to do that individually and collectively, I think we'll like where we're going to be. Those are things that we can control. There's other things outside of our control. Do I think some of those things probably help this week? Yeah. our players, we didn't as coaches, but our players were able to sit around and watch college football all day, and a lot of teams across the country got beat. Me and my wife were talking, you know, in between schools, and we were saying, is there a way to get every single team in the country to lose this weekend? I don't know if that's mathematically possible, but me and my wife were trying to come up with a way for that to happen. But, you know, I know our players sat around watching college football, and a lot of teams got beat, a lot of teams got upset. So the things that we can control, which is getting 1% better in multiple areas, that's all of us, coaches, players, and everybody, and as a program, is something that we can control and we're focusing on. The other thing about have we gotten better every single week, you know, I don't think there's too many people out there that can argue different, that we haven't gotten better every single week. So those are the things that we can control, and that's what our focus is going to be. And then all the other things that are outside of our control, you know, we're gonna try not to listen to those things. We're going to try not to focus on those things, and we're going to stick to our process.
Bob Flanders here for Patriot News.
Hello, James. How you doing?
Good, Bob. How are you?
I'm good. James, brought up Ryan Workey, Michigan State quarterback. He had a pretty good day against you last year. What do you think are a couple of the keys trying to defend him better this year?
Well, I think obviously, you know, his mobility is a major factor. So, you know, being able to make sure that we can take some of those easy throws away from him, keep him in the pocket so he can't extend plays. So I think getting pressure is great, but being able to get pressure in a way that we keep him in the pocket so he can't extend plays. And now it's difficult to cover anybody for that long. So I think that's the biggest thing. I think, you know, if you look back, you know, with Coach Nittany over his career, they always want to establish the run, and when they're able to do both, they're difficult to defend. But I think, you know, with their quarterback, I think the biggest thing is make him hold on to the ball and try to keep him in the pocket. You know, obviously our contained rushers and things like that cannot allow him to break, contain, and get on the perimeter, where now he can hurt you by running the ball, or now our defensive backs have to cover for an extended period of time, which is always challenging. Hey, Mark.
Do you expect KJ Hamler to be able to play Saturday?
Yeah.
Hey James, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. You mentioned in the bye week that you were going to take a look defensively at how teams were attacking you and kind of what you can do to counteract that. Is there anything you could that's declassified or any interesting nuggets that you might be able to share? And then secondly, how do you balance that philosophically when being so aggressive has made you very successful, but at times has also led to a lot of big plays?
Yeah. I think that's a great point. I think, you know, you essentially, you know, hit it right on the head there, is when you're aggressive and you play really good with any scheme, with anything you do on offense, defense, special teams, there's strengths and there's weaknesses. And if you're blitzing a lot, you're susceptible to the screen game, and you need to identify and know what that weakness is, so that when you are blitzing and you are being aggressive like that, everybody needs to know how people will attack you when you're doing that and what our answer is. And it can't just be, I'm gonna pin my ears back and go sack the quarterback. Those responsibilities are critical as well. So the screen game is a big one. Obviously, we've worked on whether that's a traditional screen to a running back or whether that's a perimeter screen to a wide receiver. You know, people trying to get their athletes in space. So obviously, you go through, you make a efficient play cut up. You make an explosive play cut up. You look at it, you say, okay, what themes are there? What plays are hurting us more than others? And that's other things as well that we see that are themes that people try to do to attack us week in and week out. So those are things that we spend a lot of time during the bye week in talking about. But overall, you know, again, I go back to I think we have gotten dramatically better from week one. And we got to improve in those areas. And we'll be saying that in week 11. There's things that we're doing really well. These are areas we still need to get better at. But I think as we gain experience, not only in terms of fundamentals and technique and confidence in playing, but also I think as young players, you spend so much time focused on the defensive call or the offensive play or the special teams assignment that you have. And we got to get to the point where their responsibility and their assignment is second nature. And now they're thinking about how is the defense going to try to attack? What do I need to be aware of? What you're really trying to get all players to do, which is critical to quarterback position and critical at every position, is can you anticipate, okay, we're calling this defense, and they line up in this formation, and in this formation they typically do these 2 or 3 things. And if they do this, this could cause us problems because in this defense our weakness is here. You know, in this offensive call, you know, in play, our challenge is here. And I think that's where we have to get as a program. We got to gain that experience. The guys aren't thinking about their jobs anymore. They're playing fast, and they're able to react to what the offense or what the defense or what the special teams is doing. That's the next step for us. And I would say we probably have more players doing that than not, but we got to get those not guys, you know, up to that level where they can anticipate. That's when you really start playing fast, is when you can anticipate as a quarterback or as an offensive player based on safety rotation or linebacker skew. You know what they're going to do before the ball snaps. That's when you hear players say, well, the game is slowed down. That's what's happened. They're able to anticipate before the ball snaps what's going to happen. That's the same thing on defense. They're lined up in this formation based on all the film study we've done. They're going to do one of these 3 things. And now I can identify as quickly as I possibly can and now go play fast because I know what's coming. I know what they're about to do.
Last week you mentioned the fact that because you tightened up who was getting reps, that resulted in a little bit of running out of gas towards the end. Do you try to maintain that down, make that your formula for the next 7 games, or do you reassess, maybe open it up to more of a rotational? How do you find that balance?
I think that's a really good question. I think it's a fair question. You know, if you look at us, we've gone back and studied, again, you know, we have looked at everything. You look at the games that we have lost like this, and there's been a few of them. What are the themes? What are the patterns? And that's part of it. That's part of it. We play our best players, and we get worn out late in the 4th quarter against really good football teams. So the 2 things that we have to do is we have to be more willing to play the depth that we typically do. As you guys know, I think a few weeks earlier, you guys were asking me tough questions like, why are you playing all these guys? Why not just play, you know, your starters more? You know, and then we do that, and we run out of gas. Well, we didn't do that because of your suggestions or your questions, obviously. But my point is, we've done that over my 8 years as a head coach. I think the next step for us as a program is to really continue to work really hard at developing that next level player, that second team player, that we have more depth there, that there's not as much of a drop off. And you know, I think most programs around the country, the ones are the ones for a reason. But whether it's for injury or whether it's to keep guys fresh, that's the next step for us. We have got to have more depth, that the coaches feel great about playing, that when we know that when we put them in the game, they are going to play at a really high standard week in and week out. Now what we do is we try to develop that. And then when we get to a game like we had last week, you know, we had come up having discussions as a staff and with the players that this was our plan. You could obviously make the argument after the fact that we should have played some of those guys, but I'd also make the argument the plan was what got us to that point in the first place. So again, you know, that's more just about studying kind of where we're at as a program and next steps for us and what we need to do. But everything has been looked at. You guys question us, which is good. The players questioning each other, and the coaches questioning the players, the coaches questioning each other, offense, defense, offense, and not from a defensive standpoint. I think that's something that we've done a really good job of creating a climate. I've been places where the defense knows the offense is doing something, and there's a tendency where the offense knows that the defense is doing something and it's not sound, and they don't say anything because they don't want to overstep their bounds. We don't live like that. You know, we have really good conversations in other people's worlds to give perspective. And then I go home and I get in bed and my wife questions and challenges. And I think all those things are good. And I'm working really hard and not being defensive because you're defensive because you care so much and you're prideful. But all these questions are good because they allow you to make sure that you don't have holes or blind spots in your program. And the questions allow you to double check and make sure those things don't exist.
Hey James, how's it going?
Good man. How are you?
I'm fantastic. This is not a Ohio State question, it's just context.
Thank you.
There were 6 plays in that game, some of the biggest. I promise.
You guys are unbelievable.
No, I promise. There were 6 plays in that game, some of the biggest yardages that you gained, and 4 of them you either lost yards or didn't gain yards after that. How much of a process is it learning how to continue punching after chunk plays, especially when the past 2 years or so that was something that you guys are good at?
Yeah. I think being able to use momentum and continue that momentum is really important. You know, obviously there's a lot of things that go on that you guys and the fans are unaware of and never will be, because, you know, this is not the setting or the place to do those types of things. But there's obviously reasons for when we don't execute. That is coaches making better calls, myself, the coordinators, the assistants. That is execution in terms of guys knowing their assignment and doing their assignment. And that is sometimes that the guy across the field or the guy across the line made a really good play. And there's a lot of different things that kind of go in there with those types of things. We have to control the things that we can control. You know, we gotta make the calls that we need to make at the right time, and we need to execute the plays. You know, what happens is it doesn't seem like a lot, but the O-line makes a critical error. The D-line makes a critical error. The wide receivers make a critical error. The coaching staff make a critical error. And you have, I don't know, 6, 10 of those in a game. When your margin of error against an opponent like that is so small. Now don't get me wrong, they do. And at the end of the day, it's going to come down when you're playing that type of opponent and you're going back and forth, 2 really good teams. It's not going to come down to, a lot of times, who makes the most plays and who makes the least amount of mistakes. So that's kind of what we're doing, is looking at all those things. And you know, we seem to stall out around the 30-yard line, and it's all of that. It's a little bit of scheme, it's a little bit of execution, it's a little bit that they got really good players as well. I mean, a 4th and 1 call, again, you know, here we are going back, but the 4th and 1 call, their defensive end makes an unbelievable play. He gets his hand up, bats the ball down. We got a huge play. He makes some really good play. So I really want to move on, but it's hard to answer your guys' questions, and you just guys keep asking them, and then if I don't, then I'm rude. So I don't know what the balance is. I'm still trying to kind of figure that out. Chris, help at some point, jump in and help me.
Thanks, Coach. You're next.
Oh, thank God. That's the best way. Thanks, guys.